My name is Wendy Amsellem, and I teach at the Drisha Institute for Jewish Education, and we're going to be talking today about Parashat Lech Lecha. In chapter 16 of Parashat Lech Lecha, Sarai, who's married to Avram, realizes that many years have gone by and she hasn't had a child. And she turns to her husband Avram and she makes the following request. She says to him, Hinei na'atzarani Hashem miledet, God has prevented me from having a child. Bo na'el shivchati ulai ibaneh mimena. Please come to my maidservant and perhaps I will be built up through her. One of the things that's interesting to notice about Sarai's request is that she doesn't say to Avram, God has prevented me from having a child, and so instead I want you to be able to have a child with another woman. Instead what she says is, God has prevented me from having a child, and I would like for you to take my maidservant so that I can be built up through my maidservant. And it seems that Sarai is intending to raise the child that her maidservant will have with Avram, and in that way to be able to continue and be a part of the covenant that God has promised to Avram and to Sarai. She's not intending to sort of take herself out of the story. She's trying to find another way to have herself be a part of the story. In the next two verses, Avram agrees to Sarai's request, and he and Hagar conceive a child together. Unfortunately for Sarai, as soon as Hagar realizes that she is pregnant, the verse tells us, "Vatekal gvirta beineha." Her maid begins to disrespect Sarai. Sarai is lowered in the maid's eyes. And Sarai then turns to Avram and she says this very curious thing. She says, Chamasi alacha, Avram, my wrong is upon you. This wrong that's being done to me is all your fault. Anochi natati shivchati b'chakecha, I gave you my maidservant into your bosom. Vatera ki harata, but when she realized that she had become pregnant, vaikal beineha, then I became lowered in her eyes. Yishpot Hashem b'ni uvenecha, may God judge between you and me. And I think the thing that's very strange about this verse is that we understand why it is that Sarai is angry at Hagar, because Hagar is the one who's disrespecting her. But it's very strange that she turns to Avram and she says, I'm really angry at you because Hagar is disrespecting me. It's really not clear what Avram's responsibility is in terms of that. And there are several different ways to think about that. Some traditional commentaries have suggested that the reason why Sarai is so angry is that basically what she's saying to Avram is, you see the way that Hagar is mistreating me, and you're not intervening, you're not doing anything to right the situation, and that's why I'm really angry at you. Rabbi David Silver has suggested that maybe the reason why Sarai is so angry is that perhaps what she's saying is, Hagar would never dare to treat me in this way if she saw that you, Avraham, respected me more. And the fact that she is disrespecting me means that she is sort of perceiving something about the lack of respect that you have for me, and this is, her behavior is an echo of that. A third possibility, which is intriguing, is suggested by the Midrash in Breshit Rabbah, and the Midrash says the real reason why Sarai is angry at Avram is not because of what's happening right here, but she's actually really angry at him about something that happened one chapter previously. In the previous chapter, Avraham turns to God and says, Hashem Elokim ma titen li va'anochi holech arivi. God, what can you possibly promise me given that I am childless? And the Midrash says that Sarai is angry because Avram said that I am childless, anochi holech arivi, and she wishes that Avram had said anachnu holchim arivi, we are childless. And according to the Midrash, Sarai says, look, you said I am childless and now you have a child, but if only you had said we are childless, then in the same way that God is giving you a child, God will also be giving me a child. And I think this points to kind of one of the larger questions of both Parashat Lech Lecha and also next week's Parashat Vayera, which is, to what extent is Sarah really a part of this covenantal promise that God has given Avram? Avram doesn't seem to think that she is. Avram seems to think that he needs to have a child, and his child will then be the covenantal heir. And Sarai seems very much to want to be a part of this promise also. And she seems to constantly be trying to remind Avram that she should be a part of it. In fact, in the next chapter, Avram still doesn't seem to get the message, because once he has his son Ishmael with Hagar, God tells Avram that he'll have another child. He'll have a child with Sarai, and Avram's response is, Lu Yishmael yichya lefanecha. I already have a son. I have Ishmael. Would that Ishmael live before you? I don't need another son. And God's response to Avram at that point is, actually, it's true that you have Ishmael, and he will also become a great nation. But the child that you have with your wife Sarah, she's the one who will really be the mother of this covenantal heir. And I guess we will wait till next week's Parsha to see how that plays out.